Okay, welcome to the That's Good Broncos podcast free agency F-Fest. That stands for fuck. Today's episode brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. So use code DNVR when you sign up to take advantage of their can't-miss offers. I am Brandon Perna here with Will Keys, and we are in. Well, actually, free agency hasn't started yet, but we're like 35, 40 hours into the tampering period, and it feels like free agency's been going on for weeks. Lots of moves happening. The Broncos dodge a huge, massive bullet in free agency, in my opinion, Will. We'll discuss that or debate it, depending. We didn't plan. We don't know. I don't know where you stand on this bullet. I have teased with the title of this episode.
I mean, we've only been talking about it for like 2 months.
Yeah.
But other than that,
no clue where you stand, because I forget everything you say every week, which is why we repeat ourselves so much.
Yeah, likewise.
Also, today's episode brought to you by Benchwarmer Brew, my personal coffee company, benchwarmerbrew.com. You can check it out there. We got really good beans. Got the best beans.
You know what I think about the competitors?
What? There you go.
Trash.
It sounded like it looked like you threw it a million miles because you threw it off screen and then I never heard it make a sound.
Oh, that's just how big my room is.
It could still be going.
Yeah, it's in the orbit now.
Yeah.
It's in a landfill. So.
Free agency. A lot happening. We're going to talk about the Broncos today. We're working on our AFC West recap video. Some funny stuff happening with the Raiders. Tyrod Taylor just signed with the Texans. Andy Dalton signs with the Bears. The Broncos have been very quiet on the quarterback front, but they are bringing back one Vonathan Miller. How do you feel about Von coming back? No team discount. Coming back at full price. But
1 year.
1 year for sure. That's the last year of his contract, right? And then who knows what happens after that.
I was driving around last night and I was thinking about it. I found out that they had basically ushered Phillip Lindsay out the door. They did pretty much the same thing to Kareem Jackson. And at that point, I had kind of made peace. I had made peace with them parting ways with Von Miller. It was going to happen amicably. I was okay with it as long as he didn't go anywhere in the AFC West.
Correct.
Or the Patriots, or the Buccaneers. I think that one's safe. And then I found out, I woke up this morning to the news that they're bringing him back. And you know what? I'm glad. I'm not quite as glad that it's like a $22 million cap hit. But
Right.
it's just a year.
Yeah.
And not a lot of great replacements on the open market anymore or in the draft.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened because the Broncos apparently were in on Leonard Williams, and then his price got too high. And so they're like, well, we'll just stick with Von. And then Von and his agent smartly were like, yeah, and we're not restructuring. You guys were trying to replace me, got too pricey, so now you can just pay my full deal. And then Von posted he wants to be not just a Bronco for life, but a Coloradan for life. So maybe if he wants to keep playing after this, then he comes back on a more team-friendly deal. It's going to depend on, one, if he stays healthy this season, and then two, the level of play, that he exhibits on the field. Because he's battling age, he's coming off a serious injury, and I think all Broncos fans believe he'll be great again. We just like the sound of Chubb and Von on the field at the same time. So I think there's optimism there, but there's for him to retire as a Bronco, I think he's got to play really well this year. And even then, you're like, if he plays really well, another team's going to be all in on him. And had Vaughn become a free agent, say the Broncos let him go today, he would be a Patriot right now. The way they are spending money, he would be a Patriot right now.
He would be a Patriot, and they would have converted him to tight end.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty much their philosophy over there. We should talk about that for a second, right?
Sure.
Bill Belichick, I think, is panicking. Is he panicking a little bit? He's playing like he's GMing like he does not want to start over in New England.
Yeah, and they're going all in on Cam Newton, basically, unless they have some other plan, which I don't know if they do. And I think Cam Newton can be much better with New England now that he's got help around him. Also, like, he wanted to go back to the Patriots. I think that's big. And he was pretty open about like why he struggled with them.
He would have wanted to go anywhere.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
yeah, I would like to go back to the team that doesn't have an obvious starting quarterback.
Yeah, the Patriots. But yeah, the Patriots are betting a lot on Cam being very good, or they know there's a guy in the draft they can get that they'll be excited about to have all these weapons to help them. $232 million so far they've spent in this free agency period. Obviously, that's not all this year's money. Tom Brady's career earnings with them, I think 260. So it's kind of insane.
Yeah, maybe they just hit that over mark just as like a final fuck you to Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I mean, my worry with this, I'm not worried actually. I'm kind of like amused, I guess, if you want to put it one way. But they're paying a lot they're paying basically A+ money for like B+ talent, I think. Obviously Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne are two better options than, Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry.
Well, I think Jacoby Myers mixed in with those guys is a nice trio. But
yeah, but then your 1-2 punch last year of Gunnar Olszewski and Ryan Izzo was not cutting it, clearly. I still don't think like it's an improvement. But does like Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, does that scare anybody?
No.
It shouldn't.
I think I think Kendrick Bourne's that's a solid signing. Like, I think that's a receiver that could do really well with the Patriots. But yeah, you're not getting like your number one threat, right? It's not like the way we look at Cortland Sutton, the way he should be when he's healthy again. It's not like this Julio Jones type you're getting. And even Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, they're both very good tight ends. They were the best tight ends available. But are they like top 5 tight ends in the league? Statistically, they never really have been. I think they're both very good players. But again, Cam Newton's got to play a lot better for that to work. So, yeah, usually teams that do these giant spins like this are really bad teams.
Yeah, no, Bill Belichick is he is preparing this team as if he has like 1 or 2 years left.
Yeah.
And he's totally going all in. And if he strikes out, he strikes out and retires or leaves for somewhere else. But he's not doing like the slow, gradual rebuild type of thing. This is not a rebuild. This is like, we're going to win this year. And without a quarterback, depending on what you think of Cam Newton, last year probably told us that Cam Newton's not a starting caliber quarterback. I don't know what changes this year to make him one other than, adding some receiving targets. But I don't think this is a very good approach for New England. But based on how aggressive he's been in free agency, would it surprise you for him to just leverage all of their future draft picks too and trade up in the draft?
Oh, no. Fuck no.
For a quarterback? At this point, like, Belichick seems like he's just, lost his mind. He's going through a midlife crisis. And he's going to go out and buy that red Corvette, metaphorically speaking, and trade up for, I don't know, Justin Fields, Trey Lance.
Yeah, he's
Zach Wilson.
He's in a bad breakup, and he
had a terrible breakup. Yeah.
And his ex is doing well. She is riding high.
The equivalent of Tom Brady, your ex, leaving and winning a Super Bowl. It's just like if there's this joke from a comedian named Mecky Leeper who talks about his girlfriend in college broke up with him and then started dating a basketball player. And in college, like at a big college, they'll have like huge signs of some of their like most prominent athletes.
Right.
The guy that she started dating was on this like huge billboard on his way to class. So basically every day he had to be reminded of the guy his girlfriend left him for.
That's pretty funny.
That's what it feels like in New England. And they're really, truly overcompensating to levels that we just haven't seen before.
Yeah, I was surprised yesterday, and then when I woke up this morning and saw they signed Hunter Henry too, I was like, holy shit. We'll see what happens. It's sexy. It makes for good videos. The Broncos have taken the opposite approach. They bring in corner Ronald Darby on a 3-year deal. They re-signed Shelby Harris to a 3-year deal. Gave Darby a little bit more money than Shelby Harris, which...
I rubbed you the wrong way.
Rubbed me the wrong way. But I'm glad Shelby Harris is coming back. That was a big, I think, need and want for me. Ronald Darby, I know he played decent with Washington last year. He's younger. He's had injury problems, so it seems like they're just trying the same experiment they've done with Bryce Callahan and A.J. Boye. I don't know if that's really an upgrade there, but hopefully they have a guy that can fill in and play cornerback decently if he stays healthy. I think it's like a signing that might be good, but like right now it doesn't excite me. Wasn't even a name like I was thinking about.
Yeah, no, same here. But I think he does have a lot of upside.
Yeah.
Doesn't pick off a lot of passes. Basically,
perfect for Vic Fangio's defense, who is very not opportunistic.
Right. Yeah, that's what you want in the NFL is defense that does not turn the ball over.
Well, they don't, man.
It's just true.
Denver.
Justin Simmons, and then that's about it. But the way I like to gauge these things is look at the fans of the team he just left,
right,
and gauge their reaction. And it looked like the Washington fans were pretty upset. So I like that.
Good, yeah.
There's
a few Washington fans that said you guys got a pretty good corner. So I'll take their word for it.
He did play well for them. He kind of had a prove it year last year in Washington and played really well. I think he broke up the 5th most passes in the league.
That's pretty impressive.
He gets burned a little bit. He gets burned a little bit too. But he also gets his hands in there and breaks up some passes. I want to get better at, catching those passes too. That's something we can work on.
Break and catch.
But he's like a totally up and down player. Was like very much a coveted corner, I think early on in Buffalo, and then gets traded to Philadelphia. I think that I have that the right way, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he was just hurt his first 3 years. He had bad injuries every time. So that's either unfortunate or the same thing's going to happen again. You just don't know.
So my thought process is you needed a corner to give you flexibility in the draft. Aside from the opposite, which is that they need help at corner. But the fact that you sign one in free agency means that you don't have to spend that number 9 overall pick on Surtain or
right,
Caleb Farley or whoever. So you can get a little more creative, move up, move back, do whatever the hell you want. I still think they should get one more
Yeah, but maybe they can get that guy at the top of the second round. And if Bill Belichick laid the foundation for the Broncos to take another tight end, then the door is wide open for our man Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, everybody wants to rag on the Fant Pitts offense. All of a sudden, it's popular again because Belichick does it.
Yep.
And people are going to change their minds.
People are going to change their minds when the Broncos take Kyle Pitts at 9. Also, this is the month of March, Will, which is the month for the biggest tournament in college sports. We do not know who will be cutting down the nets at the end, but we do know there will be no shortage of madness. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new customers in the center of the action. Bet $4 on an underdog, win $256 if they win. It's that simple. Turning $4 into $256 is 64-1 odds. Every dollar you bet could turn into $64. Pick one of the many select college basketball underdogs for your shot at winning $256, and all it takes is a $4 bet. Basically, $4 is what I paid Will for the first year he helped me. Don't worry, if college basketball isn't for you, DraftKings Sportsbook offers great odds and promotions on golf, hockey, and so much more. DraftKings, of course, is safe, secure, reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. So download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code DNVR when you sign up to turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off an upset. That is code DNVR to turn $4 into $256 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Got to be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. All right.
I've got more quarterback news.
Uh-oh. Tell me.
Big news. So we just had Andy Dalton go to the Bears.
Right.
We had Tyrod Taylor go to the Texans. And the next domino to the fall, the Miami Dolphins have signed Jacoby Brissette.
Ooh, shit.
Huge news.
The Jacoby. That's actually good. Okay. Jacoby Brissette. Perfect backup quarterback. We rooted for him as a starter. He came in, he was safe, he was efficient, but he just wasn't the guy who's going to get your team over the hump. So that's the kind of guy you want on your team as your backup if your starter gets hurt. Good replacement for Ryan Fitzpatrick with the Dolphins because he'll never be as flashy and sexy as Ryan. They can focus on Tua. Also, Jacoby could have been a guy the Broncos went after to come in and be that veteran leader in the locker room like everybody wants, even though I don't think it makes a fucking difference. Jacoby Brissette off the market. Andy Dalton off the market. Thank you, Chicago Bears, because Jesus Lord, if the Broncos had signed Andy Dalton like so many Broncos media members were saying was a real possibility, I would have shit the bed. Literally and metaphorically. So when I saw Dalton going to the Bears, not only was it funny because the Bears make another baffling decision at the quarterback position, but I was relieved to know the Broncos can't get him. And I was scared they were going to make that mistake. So win, victory, bullet dodged for George Paton.
Yeah, that was the bullet we were talking about at the beginning.
That was the bullet.
So if you came here to figure out what the bullet was, you still may not click off. You got to stay.
Oh, yeah, you got to stay for everything else we're about to talk about.
Yeah. We invited you in. We hooked you. We got you how many minutes into this podcast? Doesn't matter. Stick around. Yeah, I mean, that leaves one pretty prominent name out there. It's a name that you're intrigued by. It's not Ryan Fitzpatrick, but it's his younger counterpart, Gardner Minshew.
Yes.
I think with Fitzpatrick going, I'm all in on Minshew. I want it.
Want them in.
I want.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's a three-way race. Minshew, Deshaun Watson, or the Broncos are going to draft a quarterback. I don't know who that quarterback is, but from everything we've gathered about George Payton, they are definitely interested in upgrading the quarterback. Oh, yeah, and Tyrod Taylor went to the Texans. So it's like Tyrod Taylor was a guy people mentioned. Fitzpatrick was. He went to Washington. Dalton was. Not a lot of talk about Jacoby Brissette for some reason. Like, if you're going to mention all those other guys, why not Jacoby?
But, yeah, I mean, would you rather have Jacoby Brissette or Andy Dalton at this point?
Jacoby.
I think so, too.
I would, like, and it's because I think Andy Dalton's he's a little bit better than Brissette. But what I don't want is the team to go with that guy as the starter. So I think Andy Dalton would be just good enough to beat out Drew Lock, and then I would be fucking miserable for a year watching Andy Dalton as the quarterback. It's actually a compliment to Andy Dalton because he's good enough, I think, to beat out all of these backups, but not the guy you want running your team because he's going to win you just enough games where you can't draft the guy you're really going to want the next year. So I don't want really any of those guys except for Fitzpatrick because I said he'd be fun to watch. And Minshew because he might actually be better than a guy like Drew Lock. But also if he's not, he's going to be fun to watch. And fun to watch is one of the things we have to hopefully have for Broncos football in 2021. I'm not betting on a ton of wins right now, but fun to watch, I still have hope for.
Fun to watch is so much better than, a year of Case Keenum, half a year of Joe Flacco.
Oh, God. And if we hadn't been through it
last year, was pretty fun to watch for Bart's.
Yeah.
Drew Lock's generally pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, he'll keep you interested in whether it's good or bad. And I would rather have that than just below mediocre for the entire game.
Joe Flacco taking an 8-yard sack on 3rd and 2.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather see Locke scramble, throw it 40 yards down the field for a pick in that situation.
Totally.
It's good, it'll make me less mad than that sack you just mentioned. So yes, Broncos dodged the quarterback bullet. Gardner Minshew, right before the Bears signed Dalton, a bunch of people were starting to say Minshew to the Bears. Look out for Minshew, and it didn't happen. Other than that, I haven't really heard his name actually attached with any team. So I'm guessing interest in him is low.
He's still a Jaguar.
Right. But that doesn't. Well, yeah, he's not the Russell Wilson trade name or Deshaun Watson trade name.
Yeah, I kind of wonder. I mean, the Jags would be wise to trade him now, right? Well, there's still some openings at quarterback. Otherwise, because you're not what are you keeping around? They might just hold him hostage and force him to back up Trevor Lawrence, which should be just a total shame.
Yeah, he should get a chance to start. So
we should do right by Gardner.
Benjamin Albright says the Broncos' top likely targets now in a trade would be Minshew, Darnold, Foles, etc.
Darnold,
I would be okay with Darnold.
I'd be okay with that too, but it would take more to get him than it would to get Minshew.
Way more. I think
because I think we both like both of those guys for different reasons. But it's ironic too that you'd have to give up more for a guy that hasn't showed as much as Minshew. They were both placed in pretty god awful situations, if we're being honest.
It's all about where they were drafted.
Yeah, one of those guys has just played his ass off. I think in Minshew, but people are like, well, he doesn't have a strong arm. It's like, all right, he doesn't have a strong arm, but he's still got a 37-11 career touchdown ratio.
Yeah. Did Drew Brees have a strong arm? No.
Yeah, I think he had he had a 6-6 record in 2019 in Jacksonville. His rookie year as a 5th or 6th round, like 6th round.
Yeah, and he beat out Nick Foles. Like, he was better than Nick Foles.
Yeah, they benched. The only reason Gardner Minshew got benched the last 2 seasons because they're like, we paid Nick Foles this much money.
Yeah.
I know you're outplaying him, but like we kind of have to see what we've got here. And then last year they benched him because they're like, no, you're playing too well. You're gonna fuck us out of Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, and the year before he came in because Nick Foles got hurt, and then when Nick Foles was healthy again, they put Foles in, and then they were like, oh yeah, no, and then Minshew's better, and so he got the job back. So he's been better than Sam Darnold. He's been in an equally shitty situation, like you said, but because Darnold was taken so high in the draft, you're going to have to give up more to get him, even though the production is the same. There's more athletic. Darnold, like, he has a better arm. Like, Minshew's also one of those guys, a little bit like Fitzpatrick, where he's not fast, but he's elusive. And Broncos fans should remember that based on the way he beat them 2 seasons ago. But anyway, so yeah, then that leaves, I hope it's not Nick Foles. And if 2 years ago, I would have been excited for Big Dick Nick. Obviously, I was wrong. I thought he was going to be successful despite leaving Philly. Like, I just thought a guy that plays that good in the Super Bowl is going to be good. Joe Flacco should have taught me that it is possible to just have one great streak and never be great again. And I just think that's the kind of quarterback Nick Foles is at this point. Yeah, similar to Joe Flacco, Nick Foles, in my opinion, in terms of what the Broncos would be getting. So that's an experiment we've already done, and we don't need to see it again. And if they don't get any of these guys, then yeah, I hope they target somebody in the draft at that point. I don't know if it's early or late or what. But
it's going to be someone.
Also, yes, Drew Lock could be good. Got to remember that part. Maybe he can get better.
Yeah.
I don't want to be. We've already talked about this so many times. We don't need to do it again. Let's laugh.
Yeah. Here we go, repeating ourselves.
Let's laugh at the Raiders right now.
Let's laugh. Let's have a good, hearty Austin Powers, Dr. Evil laugh.
Okay, so I thought the Raiders might do something, might be good in free agency. They had a nice signing with Yannick Ngakoue. I'm like, oh shit, there's pretty good edge rusher. They didn't pay a ton of money for him. But now with a little more time, what have they done, Will?
They basically dismantled the best unit on their team last year, which was their offensive line. So they got rid of they traded Trent Brown. I think that was because he didn't want to be there.
Yep, tackle gone.
I think he played well. I'm not totally sure. Gabe Jackson, gone.
Gabe Jackson, gone. Guard, gone.
Who's their other guy? Richie Incognito?
Oh, yeah, Incognito out.
Kind of a crazy person, but he's gone. He played well. Rodney Hudson.
Their best lineman.
Best centers in the league.
One of the,
Goodbye.
4 linemen gone. Gonzo.
We found out that Rodney Hudson basically begged to be released and gave up $3.5 million in guarantees to not be a Raider anymore.
Wow.
So Brown wanted out. Hudson wanted out. Don't know about Gabe Jackson. None of this makes sense. Pretty much everyone's baffled. The Raiders still have 7 years left of John Gruden. I don't know what the hell he's doing. That offensive line was incredible last year.
Well, it was good until some of those guys started getting hurt, and then it was not. It was barely average, and it's going to be worse than that because the guys that Raiders fans thought they would be getting back to make that line good again are all gone. So they say the NFL is a copycat league, and I like that the Raiders were copying the Chiefs and dismantling their line. And even the Chargers, to some extent, losing some lineman pieces. Trey Turner, right, is gone.
Yep.
Forrest Lamp will be a free agent. I mean, he hasn't been like really good for them, but like the one thing the Broncos haven't done is lost any of their offensive linemen so far in terms of starters. Seeing the Raiders lose like 4 guys, the Chiefs lose like 3 guys, and the Chargers lose a couple pieces makes me feel somewhat confident that maybe the Broncos pass rush can be effective again with Von Miller coming back, Bradley Chubb, you got Malik Reed in there, maybe healthy Shelby Harris coming back, Mike Purcell, Draymond Jones, get some pressure on some of these quarterbacks that have been an issue for us.
Yeah, it's a great time in the AFC West to build a nice pass rush.
Yep.
Like we know, so the Chiefs spent $80 million on Joe Thuney.
Yep.
They also released Mitchell Schwartz, who was like Von Miller's kryptonite, and Eric Fisher, who turned into a very good right tackle or left tackle for them.
Yeah, it took time. Like Garrett Bowles, Eric Fisher took time to develop, but not a guy you want to get rid of if you're worried about Mitchell Schwartz coming back from an injury or even like retiring like they think he might. So
that's why I thought it was very perplexing that they paid that much for a guard. Because Joe Thuney's he's one of the best guards out there. But in terms of like value, positional value, you need that money for a tackle, not a guard.
You could have spent that on Trent Williams probably, right?
Yeah, I mean you could have given it a shot. Now I think it's probably out of the question.
Maybe a little more. He's going to cost more than that.
Yeah, he would have cost. I think the 49ers were trying to pay him 4 years, $80 million. And so he's like $4 million more a year than Thuney. One less year.
You'd probably been better off that.
Yeah, just in terms of like guards, they're just not as valuable. There's a reason why people were critical of the Colts taking Quentin Nelson in the top 5. Even though like he's the best guard prospect ever, probably like the best guard in the NFL and a total like game changer out there, it's because he's still just a guard.
Yeah, and they needed him.
You need tackles.
It worked out, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I think like the Chiefs, as much as I want to make fun of them, they believe they've got one tackle in Lucas Niang.
Yeah.
He opted out last year, so that's a big question mark. Smaller school, right? But he was really good.
Yeah, he's also a day 2 pick. It's not like he was. Yeah. I think he went to TCU. Yeah. So decent. Big 12 school.
But yeah, so there's question marks there.
To hinge everything on a rookie who opted out, who was like a 2nd or 3rd rounder. It's not like you're waiting for it's not like Tristan Wirfs opted out.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like Mekhi Becton took a year off and you're waiting for him to come and make a difference.
No,
it's a huge question mark. As much as you like him, like you haven't ever seen him on the field.
Right. And I think the Chargers, they signed Corey Linsley. So they may have lost a piece on their line, but they upgraded their center position. Linsley, really good center coming out of Green Bay. So maybe I'll take back a little bit of what I said about the Chargers.
Yeah, they got better in the interior. I think Warren Sharp pointed out that their center last year, Dan Feeney, was 31st in pass blocking, 32nd in run blocking, and Corey Linsley, I think, was top 3 in both of those, top 5 maybe.
That's a big upgrade then.
Yeah, didn't commit a penalty last year too.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I mean Justin Herbert, if he's got a better pocket, That's going to benefit the Chargers passing game. Although they let Casey Hayward go, who didn't have a great season last year, but they're like not a scheme fit.
Yeah.
Seems like it's just that team.
That's someone I don't know, to be honest, like I'm not sure what the scheme fit is like for Casey Hayward in Denver, but
what is he, a zone guy?
Who the fuck knows?
I would take him. Were you going to say you'd be happy if the Broncos took him?
Yeah, there's like a bunch of like, so I'm glad that they took Darby, who's like 27 years old, and gave him a 3-year contract as opposed to like the 31, 32-year-old corners and giving them a 3-year contract, because that's just like, you shouldn't give that many years to someone on the wrong side of 30. Yeah. Darby's young enough to the point where he's not gonna fall off a cliff for age ability reasons.
If Darby is good, then his contract will look great.
Yeah.
A few months, like midway through next season, we'll be like, that was a great contract if he's good.
Yeah. So, but there's so many guys out there, and one of them actually just came off the board. Janoris Jenkins just signed with the Titans. But the Titans also let go of Malcolm Butler
and Adoree Jackson today. Adoree Jackson's a guy I would take too. Yeah. He was a decent.
This is such a great year. No, it's okay. This is such a great year to get guys on 1-year rentals because there's not that much money out there. There's not a huge market. So get the guys on the 1-year prove-it deals. Let them sign huge next year. And plus, like guys like Butler, he's I think 30. Casey Hayward's 31 or 32 or something. All these guys are kind of on the older side. You don't want to make a more than 1-year commitment to them, but they can really help out in 2021. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Plus, I think you need a little bit of an insurance policy. Ronald Darby, a little injury prone. Bryce Callahan, definitely injury prone. I think if you were to take the most likely scenario is one of those guys is going to miss several games this year. You might get lucky.
That's fair.
You might get really unlucky. You might lose 2 of them, but I think you have to prepare for one of them being off the field. And so I think you need just like a reliable dude to step in there.
Yeah, and there are some of those pieces there. Adoree Jackson. So, the Titans' secondary was bad last year. So they let go of Adoree Jackson and Malcolm Butler. I would have to go and look kind of more of their personnel, but it seems like Adoree Jackson was the best or a decent corner in a bad secondary. So if I had to guess, he would play better in a good secondary. That kind of scenario.
Yeah. Another thing, like the way I judged it too, is Titans fans seemed a little upset that he's gone.
Yeah.
He's a good returner too. In case like that's something you're interested in. It's good versatility.
Always nice to have.
I was reading a tweet from Ben Gosling, who's a Vikings beat guy, that said a Vikings name to keep an eye on. Cornerback Mackenzie Alexander. Source said the team has an offer on the table for its 2016 second round pick to return a year after he went to the Bengals and free. I assumed he was trade bait. Never mind. Okay, I thought they were putting him out for a trade. Never mind.
Okay, ignore that. Also, breaking news: Derek Wolfe.
Derek Wolfe is back with the Ravens. Correct.
Returning to the Ravens.
This is what happens when you do a podcast during free agency. Is a lot of shit hits.
A lot of shit happens. You try to read through it.
Time.
But basically, I think it's fair to say AFC West, one of the more boring divisions so far in free agency. The Chiefs don't need to do a lot to maintain being good. Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos all kind of do, and the Raiders are doing the opposite of that. Broncos holding steady, Chargers holding steady. It'll be interesting to see how everything shakes out because more of the like low-key good signings are going to happen over the next few days or even late in the next week. And like players are still getting cut today. So more guys might be cut by the time free agency actually opens up tomorrow. More guys like a Dory Jackson where you're like, shit, that's a young corner, could help our team right now, played pretty good football somewhere else, and it might not be expensive. So we'll watch that. We will be back here probably later this week talking about it all. Good night.
And John Elway did not play with an ACL.
Good luck.